And I'm live, or at least I believe I am, according to Google. So I've been having some fun doing these live stream things the past couple of days, and I figured tonight we'd take a quick look, well, maybe a quick look, at an article here on Buzzfeed, of all places. So you know you're in for a gem. This HIV positive guy gave the perfect slapdown to someone who rejected him on Grindr. I'm pretty sure Grindr, if I'm not mistaken, is some sort of gay dating app or hookup app or some weird crap like that. This is Tom Knight. He's a 28-year-old events manager and producer from London. He's been HIV positive since 2013. Well, congratulations, I guess. I don't really even know how to respond to that. Last week, while chatting to a man on Grindr, Knight told him he was HIV positive. The man replied that he wasn't ready for that kind of complication in my life. Knight then posted his retort on Facebook. Yes, the place to go, Facebook, where you can just publicly humiliate people because you feel offended. His response, "Oh, you still wear flared jeans. I'm not sure I'm ready for that kind of complication in my life," received hundreds of likes and a stream of positive comments. Wow, people are such jackasses. Let's look at some of these here. What an asshole. Pfft. Oh, the life. Love your reply. Dead. Love you, babe. Fair play. Really? What an arsehole. I wish his crotch is infested with 1,000 fleas and his arms too short to scratch. Karma will get him. Karma will get... For what? I don't even think you understand what karma is or how it works. What is it going to get him for? It sounded like a pretty reasonable response to me, but no. The conversation on Grindr went downhill from there. Grindr sounds like a lovely place to have a conversation, by the way. Knight wrote, he wanted to say, someone in your situation should be a bit more realistic, to which I replied, well, the good news is my HIV can be treated. Your fashion sense, however. Ho, 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 ho. Yeah, you keep thinking you're hilarious, buddy. Okay, well, let's get to the actual article now. BuzzFeed News spoke tonight about what dating is like when you're HIV positive and the type of comments you see about the virus. This should be wonderful. What happened on Grindr that day? I'd been talking to this guy for a few days, and he first of all asked me, are you clean? I hate that term, as if HIV means you're dirty. Well, I wouldn't say it means you're dirty, but clean just means no diseases. And diseases are not thought of as a positive thing, and there's a reason for that. I just said, I'm HIV positive, and he didn't reply. So I said, if you've got a problem with that, fine, let's just not talk. You know, he could have just left it alone. Usually if somebody doesn't reply to you, then they probably don't want to continue the conversation. Or it sounds like let's read on, it sounds like he was a bit impatient. After not hearing from him for a couple of hours, he said, oh, you got HIV? I'm just not ready for that kind of complication in my life, which was frustrating, and which was why I responded in the way that I did. So right there, he admits, oh, I was frustrated because I didn't get the answer that I wanted. So allow me to lash out at somebody. What did he say in response to the fashion comment? That's a bit immature. I said, me? He didn't reply again. Yes, you. That's very immature, and it sounds like this guy was being perfectly reasonable, and you just got pissed off because he didn't want to talk to you. Let's see. When someone asks if you're clean, are you not tempted to just ignore them? Yeah, half of me is, and the other feels I should challenge them. I'm open about my HIV status. I'm quite a strong person. Yeah, okay. And I can deal with most crap people throw my way about it. If you could deal with it, you wouldn't feel the need to reply in a negative way to somebody that was actually being pretty reasonable from the sound of it. So I'm trying to change attitudes a little bit. I like to see where such attitudes stem from. The desire to stay healthy, because some people make flippant comments and don't realize what they're saying. It can be complete ignorance. It doesn't always come from a malicious place. People like him don't have any knowledge about HIV. Yeah, you would know, because all he said is, I don't want complications in my life. And don't know what undetectable means. An undetectable viral load occurs when medication suppresses the virus to such low levels it doesn't show up on lab tests. And don't realize that means you can't pass the virus on. Now, even so, I mean, I'm not 100% sure on the science behind this, given that it's not something I've never dealt with, that I've never dealt with directly. But even if that were true, there are many people out there that still wouldn't want to take the risk, and that doesn't necessarily make them bad people. You are just personally offended because they don't want to be with you. How did you feel when that guy said he's not ready for that complication? It's a kick in the teeth. Every time it's a kick in the teeth. It's not easy telling people I'm positive. You worry about what they're thinking about you. I get some people who are simply extremely curious about it and will ask what it's like for me and how I'm doing. Sometimes I sense they're not interested in pursuing anything other than a conversation after that. Well, I can understand, especially if this man, I don't know his story, if he's in a situation where somebody, didn't tell him about their HIV positive status and he ended up with this virus. So let's set aside his immature response to this guy's comments for a second and just say that it is hard to tell somebody this, to get up the courage to tell a person this, because there are let's be real here, there are many people that will look down on somebody for something like this, and not just from the standpoint of, oh, I want to stay healthy and don't want to deal with it. It's actual, they actually look down on a person and say, well, you have HIV, you're a piece of shit, you're scum, you're garbage. And that's not right either. So it's really, there's really an issue on both sides. But my problem comes in when they try to normalize these things as though it's not a big deal. What's the worst comment you've had? It wasn't online. I was on the scene, and someone came up to me when I was talking to his friends in the smoking area, and he said to them, "Be careful what you're going to catch off her." So misgendering, well, that's problematic, and then walked away. What was that like for you? Soul destroying. That just feeds the insecurity that comes with HIV. That insecurity is the biggest thing that changed when I became positive. The anxiety around not knowing who knows and what they think about it. It's a game changer. It affects your self-esteem. I can imagine that it would. My doctor wants me to try medication to stay on the right psychological track because it's so easy to drown yourself in the negativity that's around. I saw a story the other day from the Evening Standard, and he, an HIV positive man, was saying HIV isn't a problem, it's the attitudes around it. When they try to frame things like that, it really pisses me off, because on one hand, there is a point here to be made that people do look down on others and treat others as though they are a lesser human being simply because of these conditions. But on the other, you can't say HIV isn't a problem. HIV leads to AIDS. AIDS leads to death. We haven't come up with a solution for this yet. Yes, I understand there's medication that can suppress HIV, obviously, but when it comes down to it, this is still a deadly, life-changing virus, and most people that are sane would not want to catch it. And there is a reason for that. And it's not simply because people have a bad attitude about it. It's because it's dangerous. How did you react when you were diagnosed? My immediate reaction was being numb. I boxed it in and didn't deal with it. I was surprised at how much I didn't know about HIV. It was a struggle because of that. What education did you have about HIV at school? None. Literally none whatsoever. I kind of find that hard to believe. I mean, even I remember that it was covered in health class. So perhaps if you showed up to health class, or you just went to a really shitty school district. How have you found dating generally since the diagnosis? I found it more difficult, but a lot of that comes from myself. It's not always other people. It's the worry of what other people will think. If I meet a guy and we get on, I won't pursue it because sometimes I presume it's not going to go anywhere. I'm learning to deal with my feelings around it in dating. At the very least, I will give this guy credit for being upfront with people about it. There are people that internalize these negative feelings and feel, I have this virus now, and I'm going to die. And so I'm just going to go out there and do whatever the fuck I want and not care about anybody else's health. And, they just go off and do whatever with people and are dishonest and spread it around. Have you had any relationships since becoming positive? No. Before diagnosis, I had a 3-year relationship and a couple of relationships of 6 months. Have people said they were fine with you being positive and then it transpired that they weren't? Yeah. I started dating someone last summer, someone I'd known for about 4 years. He'd liked me all that time, and we started dating, and he was always saying, I'm here for you. But the moment it became a physical relationship, the next day I didn't hear from him again. It was upsetting because we connected on so many levels and we got on. We had a really good foundation in friendship, and it was so sad because I knew how much he liked me. It was so frustrating that he couldn't handle the physical side of it, the worry about the HIV stuff. HIV stuff. Yeah, that pesky little HIV stuff that really holds no bearing on reality or anything. There's no danger there. You could just safely ignore that. I mean, it's possible that this friend really did care about this guy, but in the end, he realized that, he was afraid. He didn't want the risk involved with being involved with somebody that has it. And this is just one of the most disturbing covers I've ever seen. HIV stripped bare. Time to expose the stigma. Yeah, we're always out to expose and remove those damn pesky stigmas, those ones that don't have any reason to exist or anything. And once again, I'm not saying that we should treat people awful because of the fact that they are ill, but at the same time, these people can't control how other people are going to react to this. What other experiences have you had? Sometimes when people are HIV negative, you can feel like they're holding back around kissing and things, and that's gutting. Sorry you feel that way, but that's life. I've had other HIV positive people tell me, oh, just date other positive people. And I can see their point, but that's so sad for me because I don't just want to date other HIV positive people. Well, that is a good point. And sometimes in life, you can't always get what you want. I can see the logic of it because you don't have to explain everything all the time, but it's not the way forward because we don't need to segregate ourselves. I would argue that you do. You have a responsibility to keep other people out of harm's way. It's not right just because you feel entitled to be able to be with people that are not ill doesn't necessarily mean that you should be able to be. Now, maybe there are people out there that are okay with being in a relationship with somebody that is HIV positive, but I can certainly understand why there are so many people that aren't. It's because they don't want to risk their life. And you, of all people, being in this position should be understanding of that. I can understand why it's disappointing, why it sucks, why it's horrible, but by no means does that mean other people should have to bend over backwards to make you feel better. No one should make you feel horrible for it, at least not intentionally. But on this, at the same time, you can't tell them what they're supposed to feel. Discrimination can cut both ways. I've met HIV positive people who say, why go for a negative person? You have to wear condoms. Condoms are vile. And that's why you're in the position you're in, you fucks. The thing about having HIV, you stumble across a lot of stupidity. I think that's the thing about being alive and the thing about Buzzfeed being a website. Like I said, I can understand both sides of this. However, this article doesn't really seem like this particular situation doesn't really seem like a good time to talk about the so-called stigma surrounding this, because it's basically saying that anytime somebody rejects you based off of this, that they're in the wrong. And that's not true. The person that rejected this guy went about it in a very mature manner, and he just couldn't handle it. So he lashed out, and now social media is making a big deal out of it, and making this guy a hero. Why? Just because he's sick and we feel sorry for him? I don't think that's right. You don't get a free pass to act any way you want just because something is going wrong in your life. I'm sorry. It's not the way it works. And I'm just trying to imagine if this situation were flipped. Say this wasn't a gay man. Say this was a straight man, and he was lashing out at a woman for not wanting to be with him for being HIV positive. We'd have that narrative, oh, those entitled men thinking they're, able to force themselves upon women and claim that, I'm losing my train of thought, but you know what I'm saying here. It would be a completely different situation. They would be attacking this guy rather than praising him. And it's just messed up. The double standards are what drive me crazy the most. Either these things apply to everybody or they apply to nobody. It's not a selective process. So that's pretty much where I'm at with that. Like I said, just a quick little stream here to cover this article. And thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time.